They thought he was weak. They thought he died that day. But when Silas Grimm came back, he wasn't carrying a gun, he was carrying a plan, and the town was already standing on top of it. In the small, dusty town of Willow Creek, Silas Grimm was known as the quiet storekeeper. His shop, a cozy place filled with the scent of old wood and ink, was a safe haven for townsfolk seeking everyday essentials or a good book. Silas had always preferred the gentle rustle of pages turning over the clatter of gunfire. He found solace in the stories of heroes and adventurers, living vicariously through their triumphs while tending to his humble shop. Every morning, Silas would unlock the creaky wooden door and arrange the shelves with care. The townspeople often stopped by not only to purchase items, but also to share banter and enjoy his calm demeanor. Children would crowd around him as he read aloud from his favorite tales, his soft voice drawing them into worlds far away. He loved these moments of peace, far removed from any notion of conflict or violence. But the tranquility of Silas's life shattered one fateful day when masked robbers stormed into his store. The chaos unfolded in mere seconds, turning his cherished refuge into a scene of terror. Silas fought back instinctively, but it was his brother who bravely intervened that day, paying the ultimate price. That brutal robbery carved a deep scar in Silas's heart, transforming him from a soft-spoken lover of books into a man bent on revenge. Though surrounded by shelves filled with stories of courage and justice, Silas realized he would need to write his own tale, a tale not carried out with bullets but with cunning and strategy. From that moment on, his life took a new direction, setting the stage for a daring plan that would turn the tables on those who had taken everything from him. The peaceful atmosphere of Willow Creek shattered like glass on that fateful day. It began like any other, with the sun streaming in through the shop windows and Silas stacking shelves filled with books. Suddenly the calm was pierced by the sound of a door slamming open. 3 masked men stormed into the store, their eyes wild with greed and malice. Silas's heart raced as he froze, his mind racing in disbelief. The robbers barked orders, demanding money and valuables while brandishing weapons that glinted ominously in the dim light. Chaos erupted. Customers screamed and dove for cover, knocking over displays as they scrambled to escape. Silas's instincts kicked in, but fear gripped him tight. In a split second, his brother, who had been helping at the shop, stepped forward to protect Silas. "Get back!" he shouted, trying to shield his brother from danger. But before Silas could react, one of the robbers swung around, unyielding and ruthless. A shot rang out, echoing through the small space like thunder. Time seemed to freeze as Silas watched his brother fall, collapsing to the floor with a lifeless thud. Panic surged through Silas. He rushed to his brother's side, cradling him as blood pooled around them. The shop that had once felt like home now felt like a nightmare. Tears streamed down his face as he realized that everything he cherished was slipping away, his peace, his love for books, and now his brother. That brutal robbery tore a deep hole in Silas's soul and ignited a fire within him. The grief transformed into a fierce determination. Silence would not be his only response. Vengeance would come not with bullets but meticulously planned strategy. In that moment of loss, Silas vowed to ensure that those who took everything from him would pay dearly for their actions. In the weeks that followed the robbery, the vibrant colors of Willow Creek faded into shades of gray for Silas. The once comforting walls of his shop felt suffocating, each creak of the floorboards a haunting reminder of the past. Days turned into nights filled with restless sleep, where he would wake drenched in sweat, the echoes of gunfire still ringing in his ears. He could see his brother's face, filled with courage one moment and then gone the next, leaving Silas drowning in despair. Grief settled deep within him like a weight he couldn't shake off. At first it left him feeling lost and broken, longing for the simple conversations they shared and the laughter that used to fill their store. Friends and neighbors offered their condolences, but Silas felt as if they were speaking a language he no longer understood. Their words of comfort only seemed to deepen his isolation, yet as days passed, that deep sorrow began to twist into something darker. Each memory of his brother transformed into a burning desire for revenge. Silas spent hours in silence, poring over books filled with tales of cunning and strategy. Instead of losing himself in stories of adventure, he began to draw inspiration from them, characters who faced great odds and emerged stronger. With every passing day, the pain morphed into focus. Silas's soft-spoken nature hardened as anger surged within him like a raging river. He vowed to take control of his fate and ensure that those who had shattered his life would pay dearly for their actions. It was time to turn grief into action, to transform sorrow into a carefully plotted plan that would set him on a path not just toward vengeance, but reclaiming his sense of justice. As Silas delved deeper into his emotional turmoil, a fire ignited within him, reshaping his very being. The once soft-spoken storekeeper, who found comfort in the written word and shunned conflict, began to evolve into a figure filled with determination. He could feel the weight of his brother's death pushing him forward like the tide against the shore, washing away the remnants of his old life. Instead of succumbing to despair, Silas plotted his course with meticulous care. He envisioned a trap, not a direct confrontation fueled by rage, but a cunning scheme that would ensure the robbers faced justice on his terms. He spent hours studying every corner of the store and poring over books that detailed strategic thinking and ingenious tactics, allowing himself to be inspired by characters who outsmarted their foes through planning rather than brute force. Silas decided that waiting for the inevitable clash was not an option. He sketched ideas on scraps of paper, mapping out how he could use the very space where he once felt safe to ensnare those who had invaded it. He imagined hidden compartments under floorboards where he could hide crucial supplies and tools for his plan. The store, once a haven of tranquility filled with stories of heroes, transformed in his mind into a battleground, a stage upon which he would reclaim not just his lost brother but also his sense of power and control. Every day brought new ideas and renewed focus. Silas knew that this trap would become more than just revenge. It would be a lesson for anyone who dared to cross him again. With each step he took toward his plan, he embraced the shadows that had overtaken him, preparing to fight back in a way no one would expect. With a renewed sense of purpose, Silas began meticulously planning the trap that would bring the robbers to justice. He knew every inch of his store like the back of his hand, from the creaky floorboards to the dusty shelves lined with books. This intimate knowledge would be his greatest asset in setting up a clever scheme that would catch them off guard. Silas started by sketching layouts of the store on scraps of paper, marking hidden compartments and potential escape routes. He envisioned using the store's layout to create obstacles that would confuse and ensnare the intruders. In one corner, he planned to hide supplies he could use to secure their movements, while other areas would be rigged with simple but effective traps that could incapacitate them without a single gunshot. He also recalled stories from his reading about clever strategists who outsmarted their enemies through deception and trickery. Inspired by these tales, he devised ways to manipulate sound. He placed items strategically to create distractions that would lead the robbers away from their intended path. The bell above the door was rigged to jingle softly when disturbed, providing him with warnings as soon as they entered. In addition to utilizing his knowledge of the store, Silas took time to observe the town around him. He noted which routes the robbers might take and studied their patterns. He even spoke with a few trusted townsfolk under the guise of casual conversation, gleaning bits of information that might help him anticipate their actions. As he worked tirelessly on this plan, Silas felt empowered for the first time since losing his brother. Each element he added to his trap was not just a step toward vengeance, but also a reclaiming of control over his life. With each passing day, he grew more convinced that justice could be served on his own terms, and it would all unfold right there in his once peaceful store. As Silas continued developing his plan, he realized that he could not do this alone. He would need allies, people he could trust to support him in his quest for vengeance. Silas reached out to a few key individuals in Willow Creek, each with special skills that would prove invaluable. First, there was Maggie, the local blacksmith's daughter. Strong and resourceful, she had grown up working alongside her father, learning the art of metalwork. Silas knew she could help create useful tools and traps from materials found in her father's forge. But beyond her physical strength, Maggie was also known for her quick thinking and had a reputation for being able to handle herself in tricky situations, not something to be taken lightly in a town like theirs. Next came Thomas, an old friend of Silas's brother who had once been a scout for the town's militia. Thomas was swift and nimble on his feet and had an uncanny ability to blend into the shadows. This skill would be crucial for gathering intelligence on the robbers' movements without drawing attention to himself. Silas admired Thomas's bravery, as he often ventured into risky territories to gather information, providing insights that could help them stay a step ahead of their enemies. Lastly, there was Clara, the kind-hearted librarian who shared Silas's love for books. While she might not seem like an obvious choice at first glance, Clara was fiercely intelligent and possessed a remarkable knack for strategy due to her years spent organizing community events and games at the library. Her keen mind offered valuable insights into devising tactics that could catch the robbers off guard. Together, this unlikely trio became Silas's steadfast allies, united by their shared determination to seek justice. With their diverse skills combining with Silas's meticulous planning, they formed a formidable team ready to execute his clever trap against those who had wreaked havoc on their lives. As the day of the trap approached, Silas and his allies sprang into action, setting the stage for their confrontation with the robbers. Each member of the team had their assigned tasks, creating a sense of urgency and excitement that pulsed through the air. Silas felt a mixture of anticipation and dread as he watched his plan take shape. Maggie worked tirelessly in her father's forge, crafting tools and small devices that would be hidden throughout the store. She meticulously designed tripwires that could trigger noise, distracting the robbers and confusing them in their pursuit. Her strength and practical skills made it easy for her to gather iron and other materials quickly, turning them into effective traps that would catch any intruders off guard. Meanwhile, Thomas scouted the town, ensuring they knew every potential escape route and the paths the robbers might take to reach Silas's store. He even spoke to a few locals, gathering intel that could alert them to any unusual behavior. His ability to remain unnoticed allowed him to gather crucial information while staying under the radar. Clara focused on mapping out the psychological aspects of their plan. With her understanding of human behavior from countless books she had read, she helped Silas devise strategies to manipulate the robbers' actions. Together, they created a scenario where fear would play a significant role in leading the men into Silas's carefully constructed trap. As dusk settled over Willow Creek, Silas took a deep breath while surveying the store. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, but there was also hope. He positioned items he had set as decoys and adjusted hidden compartments to conceal traps. Each step brought them closer to executing their plan. The air was thick with expectation. Silas now felt ready to reclaim justice, not through gunfire, but through intelligence and cunning. The day of the trap arrived, and Silas found himself standing behind the counter of his store, his heart pounding like a drum. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the wooden floor, heightening the tense atmosphere. Every creak of the floorboards sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. Anticipation crackled in the air like static electricity. He wiped his sweaty palms on his trousers, trying to quell the surge of emotions coursing through him: fear, determination, and a deep-rooted need for justice. Silas glanced around the store, taking in the careful preparations he and his allies had made. Hidden traps lay in wait beneath the shelves, with decoys positioned to draw the robbers into their snare. He felt a mix of pride and anxiety over what they had accomplished, knowing that now it was out of his hands. He could only wait. Time crawled as minutes turned into what felt like hours. Silas's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, replaying the traumatic events of that fateful day when his brother died. The image of his brother's face haunted him, fueling an unwavering resolve to ensure that such horror would not happen again. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that this was about more than revenge. It was about reclaiming a sense of safety for his community. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting an orange glow through the windows, Silas leaned slightly forward, peering out at the street. His heart raced at every passerby. Each time he thought he spotted a familiar face, hope flickered within him, only to be extinguished by disappointment. He knew the robbers would come. It was only a matter of time. And when they did, they would find more than just a storekeeper waiting for them. They would encounter a man ready to fight back with cunning and strategy. As the door swung open with a creak, Silas felt his heart race. The robbers entered, their faces obscured by masks, but Silas recognized the swagger in their step. These were the same men who had turned his life upside down. They surveyed the store with hungry eyes, unaware of the meticulously crafted trap lying in wait for them. The moment they stepped inside, Maggie's carefully placed tripwires were triggered, causing a series of loud noises that echoed throughout the shop. A bucket filled with iron weights tipped over, crashing to the floor and startling the intruders. Caught off guard, they instinctively turned toward the source of the commotion, just as Silas had planned. Thomas, hidden in the shadows outside, quickly moved to secure their escape routes while keeping an eye on the robbers' movements. He whispered to Clara, who was waiting nearby with a small collection of distractions, a set of firecrackers she had made that would soon add to the chaos. As confusion reigned, Silas took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the counter. "You shouldn't have come back," he said calmly, his voice steady despite the wild beating of his heart. The robbers turned to face him, shock flooding their expressions as they realized they were not facing a defenseless storekeeper, but someone ready to take a stand. In that moment, Silas activated another trap, a concealed net that sprang up from beneath the floorboards, ensnaring two of the robbers. They flailed helplessly as the net tightened around them. The third robber stumbled back towards the door in panic but ran straight into Thomas's waiting grasp. While gunfire was not exchanged that day, Silas had orchestrated a confrontation that relied on intelligence and cunning rather than bullets. As Clara's firecrackers erupted in bursts of sound and light, Silas stood resolute amid the chaos, knowing that their plan had worked flawlessly and justice was finally within reach. As the dust settled in the store, Silas stood tall, his heart racing with adrenaline and relief. The robbers, now trapped and disoriented, were swiftly bound by Thomas, while Maggie and Clara ensured that they remained incapacitated. The plan had worked flawlessly. The chaos of their capture echoed throughout the town, signaling that justice had arrived. In the aftermath, the townsfolk gathered outside, drawn by the commotion. When they learned what had transpired, a wave of gratitude swept over them. Silas was no longer just a quiet storekeeper. He had become a local hero in their eyes. This was not only a triumph for Silas, but also a pivotal moment for Willow Creek, a community that had long lived in fear. The captured robbers were quickly handed over to the authorities, who were astonished by how effectively Silas and his allies had dealt with the threat. As the robbers were led away in handcuffs, Silas felt a profound sense of closure for his brother's death. This victory helped to ease the painful memories and gave him hope that such violence would not haunt his community again. With the danger gone, Silas gathered his allies in the store that evening. They shared laughter and relief at what they had accomplished together. Each of them had played a crucial role, and their bonds grew stronger through this shared experience. Silas realized that he was not alone in this fight. He had friends who would stand by him no matter what. From that day forward, Silas embraced his new role as a protector of Willow Creek. He continued to run his store, but now it served as more than just a shop. It became a symbol of resilience and courage. The lessons learned from this confrontation would stay with him forever, inspiring Silas to remain vigilant and ready to defend those he cared about. As Silas stood in the quiet of his store, reflecting on the tumultuous journey he had undertaken, he felt a profound sense of transformation wash over him. Once just a soft-spoken storekeeper who preferred the comfort of books to the chaos of conflict, he had been pushed to confront his deepest fears and darkest desires. The robbery that took his brother's life had ignited a fire within him, forcing him to take control of his fate in ways he never imagined. Silas now understood that revenge was not simply about inflicting pain on those who had wronged him. It was about standing firm against injustice and protecting those he loved. His plan, fueled by grief and determined strategy, had shown him that there were smarter paths to justice, ones built on cleverness rather than violence. This shift in perspective made him realize that true strength lies not just in physical power, but in the ability to outthink and outmaneuver adversaries. The support of his allies, Maggie, Thomas, and Clara, reinforced this lesson. They had each brought their unique talents to the table, demonstrating the importance of community and collaboration. Together, they had created an unbreakable bond forged through adversity, and Silas knew he was never alone in this fight. As life returned to a semblance of normalcy in Willow Creek, Silas embraced his role not only as a storekeeper but as a guardian of his community. His shop became a symbol of resilience, a place where courage and friendship thrived. While the pain of loss would always linger, it now accompanied a sense of purpose and hope for the future. Silas was ready to protect what mattered most, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead with a steady heart and a determined spirit.